Hello and welcome to Modern Barber Upskills. I'm Charlotte, the editor of Modern Barber, and today's session is all about barbershop culture and its importance in Black communities. And today I'm really excited to be joined by Mark Maciver, aka Slidercuts. Slidercuts has a seriously impressive client list, which includes Anthony Joshua, Reggie Yates, Stormzy and Tiny Tampa, and many more. Mark continues to perfect his craft at his self-titled Hackney Barbershop, and he's a huge advocate for small businesses, community, and younger generation. He's the author of Shaping Up Culture, which is an inspirational and practical how-to guide for business beginners. Welcome, Mark.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here today.
Thank you so much for joining us. So today we're going to be chatting about barbershop culture and the importance of it in Black communities, which I know is a topic that you're really passionate about. And kind of what is you trying to get across is the barbershop kind of functions as like a male therapy session. Can you explain a little bit more about that for us, please?
Well, yes, I guess in like Black culture, in a sense, the barbershop is like the community center. You know, I always say that, every, different type of demographic have all their own centers, like traditionally, like, I guess, working class white man might have like a pub, middle class, I guess, white man might have like a members club, Turkish people have traditionally their snooker halls, women will, especially more so now, women have their kind of like the clubs, which is kind of like just for women, just so they can discuss. And I feel like in the Black community, just the men's Black community, same thing with the women as well, with the hairdressers, the barbershop is that space that they can come and they can be themselves and they can open up and they can talk, they can relax, and everyone there to some degree kind of understands everybody else because it's like, we're coming from similar backgrounds, so we just have this understanding. So it plays a massive part in the community, because also it's the only place really, let's say, in this country where you would go to, and if you're Black, you could just see like, the heavyweight champion of the world there, your favorite musician, you could be, someone who, like, no offense to any of the jobs I'm mentioning, but you could work in Sainsbury's, you could be a bin man, you could be a postman, you can be an accountant, a doctor, the heavyweight champion of the world, the #1 artist in the world, and you all be in the same space and be in the same conversation. So it's vital in the community.
And did you personally grow up with that kind of barbershop community around you?
No, unfortunately, I didn't. I missed out on it. And I think, but there was always a yearning of me wanting to be in there, because I guess watching programs like Desmond and probably other shows in America where they had scenes in like the barbershop, just like Coming to America was a film, they got an iconic scene in a barbershop. But because we couldn't afford to go to the barbershop, my mum used to cut my hair. But I always had this thing, I remember being 6, 7 years old, and my older brothers and their friend were going to the barbershop, and I remember them talking about what haircut they were going to get and the excitement they had. And when they came back, they were still talking about the haircut they got. They were touching each other's hair like, yeah, you got this, you got that. And I remember saying, when I get older and I go to the barbershop, I'm going to get this haircut. I can't wait. Like, I couldn't wait. So I always had this journey of wanting to be in it, because I kind of heard about it or seen glimpses of it, but I couldn't afford to be in it.
Yeah. And it kind of, how you're talking about it, it kind of sounds like it was sort of a rite of passage, so that when you like got enough money and then could go to the barbershop, you were like, yeah, I've made it. So I haven't hung out in a lot of Afro barbershops, which is shame on me. Like, I need to change that. So my limited experience of them is through a play called the Barbershop Chronicles. And I just wondered if that's something you'd seen and what you think of the portrayal of barbershops in that play.
That play, I would say, is amazing. It's very accurate. Like, I've watched it twice, 2 or 3 times, no, twice. And I just remember watching, especially the first time me and my colleagues went there and we all came out of it, just like, rah, that was accurate. Like they got that, like almost like spot on. Like, so yeah, I'd say if you watch the Barbershop Chronicles, you get insight to what the barbershop is like, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, they've done a really good job on that.
Yeah. I did an interview actually with the barber that they consulted for it. So they definitely did their due diligence and like got to grips with the actual real conversations and everything that happens. So knowing the importance of the barbershop for Black communities, how has the past year been for you guys at Slidercuts? It must have been really difficult to adapt during a pandemic and not be given the kind of lifeline and support to your clients that you normally would. How have you adapted to that?
Well, for me, it made me, you know what? It's been a horrible time because of the obvious. People being passing away, people getting sick, you know, joblessness, you know, people just suffering on different degrees. So factually, just hands down, it's been a horrible time. But I have used this time that I've been given to kind of like venture into other things around barbering, a lot of things that I haven't had time in my normal schedule to do. So like, especially more recently, I started doing a lot more of online classes. I started doing these online classes, which aren't to do with actually cutting hair, but they're to do with the business side of barbering, like, and hairdressing. And, you know, so basically, I say that the focus is, you know, is hair and beauty. So the things I'm talking about are very relevant directly to the hair and beauty industry, but the things I'm giving out, anybody can take on if you're self-employed to some degree anyway. So I just started doing these classes online, people pay for them as well. So, you know, and it's just different subjects. So it's not like a long course. You choose which subject you want to sign up to and hear about. And systems like how to start your business, you know, setting up a barbershop, a hairdresser, you know, how to set up, how you go about it, using Instagram, just how to use Instagram better and properly, because I see a lot of, you know, barbers especially, and, you know, they're not using their Instagrams, you know, correctly to as basic things as like, you know, their bio doesn't even have any information of what they do, you know, to a basic thing of that, which slips a lot of people's minds. But, you know, so I just started like doing classes on those things there. Also, I've just kind of like, people say, investing a lot more time into, let's say I wouldn't say public speaking, I put it for public teaching, you know, so from business to barbering, you know, and setting up platforms to how I can do that, thinking about courses I want to set up, just kind of like venturing to everything else outside of me just cutting hair, which I've been thinking about for a while, but I just haven't had the time to even really think about it and sit, you know, buckle down and, you know, just get things going. So yeah, this time has been good for that.
And when it comes to the staff in your barbershop and how they've kind of reached out to clients, are they feeling the effects of the pandemic in that respect in terms of their well-being, and how are you dealing with that?
Well, with my staff, I regularly check in on them. So I was doing this thing where every week, because I've got like, I don't know, 15, 16 staff members. Yeah, about that, something like that. And so I'll do this thing where I would like, maybe start of the week, I'd message 2 of them. Then I'll almost give that week to them, because what happens in conversations is it goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And where I'm still very busy right now, I might message you now this morning and they might message me till a few hours later. Then I don't message you till tonight potentially, or the next morning. So I was kind of like, okay, don't try and speak to everyone in one go, because it's not going to happen. So just like pick 2, and then it's like, you know, we're going back and forth in conversation, as well as just like organic talk. You know, people might message me to ask me questions. I'm not like, wait your turn.
Not your week.
Not your week. But, you know, I made sure I reached out to people to ask them how they're doing. Is there anything they need? How they coping? And people just were just like, oh, this is happening, that's happening. I always ask them this question, you know, how are you doing financially as well? You know, so if there's anything, you know, I can do to help, I will. So I really made sure that they were all good, as well as like, like last week we done a group meeting just on like, online, just talk to each other. It wasn't even a meeting, it was just a catch up, get together, just to talk, see what's going on with ourselves, and just to connect, virtually, even though we're not in the barbershop. And so through speaking to them, talking about things, talking about going forward. Also, I've got quite a few opportunities coming up as well for the shop. We're growing in, not even like numbers, but we're growing in, what Slidercuts is going to be doing, which I can't talk about some of the stuff now. We're growing. So I've been, talking to them about, there's this opportunity coming up. Would you be interested in this? Would you be interested in that? So I think people have been kept up to date with what's going on, and they're excited by what's coming as well.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad there's a feeling of hopefulness and optimism with the barbershop. And how about with clients? Have they got in touch with you, or have they got in touch with members of your staff, kind of reaching out and looking for that kind of community feeling and the kind of support that they would get if they were coming into the barbershop? How are the lines kind of drawn there?
I spoke to a few clients. I think especially through my Instagram, what I've used with my Instagram. So I've done a lot of, like, on Instagram, ask me a question. So I find those type of things are helpful for kind of like one-way group conversations. I say one way because you ask me a question and I respond. Then someone else asks me a question and I respond. So it's one way, but it's a type of conversation. I've been on to Clubhouse. That is like a really a group conversation. I haven't done as much as I wanted to on that platform, but I have been onto there. So that helps for group conversations. So, and also there are just people as well, which I've just spoken to, clients, where some of them are clients, some of them are clients' friends, in the sense of, I met you through cutting your hair. And I've just checked in with a couple of them, which, especially some of them which I previously knew things were going on with. So I've just checked in to say, hey, how you doing, and how that thing, we spoke about before. I know one guy who responded to me, and he said to me, oh, this is just a send to all message. And I was like, no, I'm asking you about, the thing which we spoke about, this and that, because I don't give me all of that. I know you're just sending this to all your clients, act like you're act like you're interested. And I was like, no. Now we're going back and forth. I'm like, no, you remember we spoke about this before, so now I'm asking you what happened. And he's like, oh, for real? And he's like, oh, that's really kind. That's really nice of you. Like, right. Then he just got in the conversation a little bit. So there's people which come to memory where I knew there were maybe certain things happening. I've just been reaching out to them. Obviously, I've got loads of clients. I can't reach out to everyone, and not everyone's told me what's going on in their life like that. So I've been trying it in that way. And and also with the live, I've been doing a lot more Instagram lives. So people, be on a live, customers like, Slider, I need my haircut now. Oh, come off the live, give me my haircut, I need a haircut. And all of that stuff there is basically, it's not the fullness of what the barbershop is, but it's still glimpses of what the barbershop is. So I've been trying to give out some of that anyway.
Yeah. And I guess people that are clamoring for getting their haircut, it's not just about getting their haircut, it's about missing that social aspect of the shop. Like, can you give me a kind of description of like an average day at Slidercuts and like the vibe there, and what you miss personally about being in the shop? Are you even in the shop every day?
Well, no, I'm there 4 days a week. So from before I was there 5 days a week, then after the first lockdown, I dropped down to 4 days because of my wife working, and my wife working and her workload increasing, so we had to share it out fairly. So
nice.
I work 4 days, she works 4 days, and we have like crossover days, which are like when my youngest, who's like a baby, well, coming up to 2 years old, goes to nursery, he goes to nursery 2 days a week. So it's even. So we're both getting like good amount of time with our children as well as working.
Yes, the shared parental rights.
Yeah, I'm all for it. you know, now she's working full time. I'm like, I'm the full-time dad. I'm the house husband. I'm, you know, I'm all of that. So yeah, you know, so I work 4 days. The average day is going into the shop. I'll be the first one there because I'm always the first one there because times I start. You know, quiet in the morning. Like it feels. One good thing about going in early is you get this quiet moment where I'm cutting a client. It's one-on-one time. So the best conversations with clients. If you want good conversation with me, really good, come between 5 and 9. That's when, you know, and I got a client, right, who he comes in the morning all the time. And I remember one time he came in through the day and he was just like, it's not the same, like, because he thought he couldn't have that private conversation that we normally have. And it's like, yeah, it's not the same, you know, too many people are here, we can't talk about personal things. So if you want that, you know, but it costs more those times in the morning, but you know.
5 in the morning?
Yeah, it costs more, but it's cheaper. It's still cheaper than a therapist session. You know, so I do that. Then, you know, everyone else starts coming. And then there'll always be kind of like at least one debate conversation in the day that stretches on for a long time. Most of the time nowadays, there'll be our hairstylist / barber, Shannon, who brings up these conversations or things, you know, that everybody's arguing about. But yeah, you know, there'll be that. Then there'll just be like individual conversations between clients and barbers, then group conversations, and get loud and people are shouting across the room and no, blah, 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 no, this person's the best, no, that person's the best, no, blah, 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 how can you say this, how can you say that? And, you know, then it just quiets down, then it's like a roller coaster. The bar's like a roller coaster, you know. Or someone might come in and we having a group conversation about one particular person's issue. Nice. You know, so often you'll see people come in and be like, you know, they'll be like, I'm thinking of one guy in particular who loves it. Every time he comes in, he loves to put out his issue for everybody to give him advice. Like, you know, I'm going to say who it is. Jeremiah Asiyama. He's a DJ. Yeah, he's a DJ on One Extra. And Jeremiah Asiyama, he loves to come in and say, hey guys, I need your advice. Like, you know, this is what's going on right now in my life. What do you think I should do? Yeah, I think he just loves the attention. So everybody's kind of giving their 2 pence, you know, into it. So yeah, that's the barbershop. It's like a family-orientated community center.
That's cool. I like that he's kind of getting like crowdsourced advice, like not just one-on-one, like everyone chips in. He's getting a lot for his money.
Yes, he is.
And how do you see the future of black barbershops looking in 5 years' time? And is that even the right phrase that I should be using? Like, is that a phrase that you would use, or would you just be like, it's just it's a community barbershop?
Well, you know what, it is.
Whoever wants to come in.
No, it is the black barbershop, but I think the black barbershop can make it sound like it's exclusive to black people. When it's not exclusive to black people, it's not kind of like, hey, you're not black, you know, you can't come in, you know, plenty of white customers come in, Turkish customers, Asian customers, you know, and so on, come into the barbershop, but it's majority a black barbershop because of the volume of black people in there, and we specialize in Afro hair. Although as well, we specialize in Afro hair. So it's the same as calling a shop a European barbershop. You know, it's because it's more so to do because of what they specialize in. So because we specialize in that, that's what it is. But also, I guess it's called the Black Barbershop as well, just because it's almost like the unofficial Black community center. But what you'll find is Black people will be in there and having conversations, and there'll be white people in the shop, and it's not like a white person walked in, stop talking. You can't talk about that no more. It's not that whatsoever. You know, they'll be in the conversations. Asian people will be there. They'll be in the conversations, or they might not. If they choose not to. If they feel uncomfortable, maybe they might not. But yeah, that's what it is. I think in 5 years, the black barbershop probably will be changing a little bit. I think there'll be a lot more mixed barbershops, and I think it's already, I don't know, would you call it like cosmopolitan, kind of like, would that be the word for it? But there'll be a lot more mixed barbershops anyway, you know.
Yeah, like
I guess
more diverse.
in barbers that work in there, to all the different styles that they're doing,
Yeah.
to the clients that are attending. Like if you go, I feel like there's a lot more shops which are becoming more like that. But I think, you know, in years to come, especially more Black people have become better at cutting European hair. You know, and there's a lot more white people that have become better at cutting Afro hair.
Hopefully.
Before, no, there is. I see them online. Like, you know,
Good.
I see them online. You know, there's a lot more white barbers that can actually now cut Afro hair. Whereas if we're even looking like just 5 years ago, it was totally different because there was a clean divide. You know, white people couldn't cut really Black hair. Black people could cut European hair, but they couldn't do the scissor work and stuff like that. So as long as it's a fade, we could do it. But it's kind of like, you know, when it came to scissor work, it's kind of like, generally it's kind of like no, you know, or Asian hair. So I feel like there's going to be a lot more of a mix where the skills of barbers are going to be going up. So it's not going to be as strictly Black or white, because you can cut Black or white as a white person, or you can cut Black or white as a Black person, or an Asian person cutting Asian, Black, white, whatever, the whole mix. So I think that's going to come. And maybe this next thing might happen, which isn't, I thought is a weird thing, isn't maybe, I don't know if it's good or bad, but in the Black, you know, quote unquote, the Black barbershop, there's never been a class divide. Whereas I've seen that in kind of like, you know, European, like white hairdressers or barbershops. You know, there's kind of like the local barbershop that if you're working class, you go to that barbershop over there.
Yeah.
Because that's the cheap one, that's the one which is local, you go there. But when you've got a bit of money, you go to that barbershop. And if you go to the barbershop, what you notice is there's the working class community, there is the, you know, middle class community, and there's like a class divide. But in the Black barbershop, there has never really been that thing. So that's why you can see Anthony Joshua, and you can see, you know, Femi, you know, from down the road, whatever it is, you know, who isn't working any of those type of jobs, or working a traditional working class job, you know, or even a low paying job. You know, you can see an accountant, you know, with, and you know, the accountant, the person who works in Sainsbury's, the doctor, you know, the person who's doing even illegal things with criminal activity, whatever it is, right? There hasn't been like a, you know, you go to this barbershop, they go to that barbershop. It's just been, if you were Black, you just went to the barbershop where you got a good haircut from. I think potentially in years to come, maybe potentially that class divide could start happening, with there being a lot more affluent Black people, and potentially that could happen. But I don't think it's the best thing, because I love the fact that we put it. I think that gives hope, and I think it gives kind of like there's aspiration in, there's inspiration in the fact that someone from the local community walk in and see the #1 rap artist, or whoever it is, or singer, or, you know, a big accountant and the heavyweight boxer of the world, and they can see that person in their local barbershop, and not kind of be like, when you get older and you make money and you start like that barbershop, you might start seeing those people.
Yeah.
So I like the fact that everybody is in the same place.
That would be such a loss to the community if that was not to exist anymore, for sure. That whole you can't be what you can't see line really like rings true there. So my next question was going to be, do you kind of feel like there's an argument for conserving those spaces, conserving Black barbershops, and kind of making sure that that legacy continues?
I think it's a weird question. I think the Black culture of the barbershop, you know, you're not turning people away, you know, as I said, I don't agree with kind of like, oh, you're not Black, you can't come in. No, Black culture, and what I mean by that, and we've spoken about this quite a bit in the barbershop, it's keeping the culture and having people understand that if they come into that, they adapt to the culture, but not try and change the culture. So as example, if I walk into a working class white man's pub and they're playing, you know, what's that song they love playing at boxing matches? What's that song? Is it Sweet Caroline?
Oh, yeah.
At boxing, So imagine me walking into what traditionally what I mean by working class white man's pub. Not they don't own it. Anyone can come in. And I'm like, oh, I don't really like this music. Oh, can't you play something that caters to more of your diverse crowd, or people which are coming in there, or they're watching EastEnders on the TV, and I'm like, I don't really watch EastEnders, can't you kind of like put on Fresh Prince? And it's just like, this is the culture of the pub that I'm walking into. Me walking into there, I shouldn't be trying to shift that culture. Oh no, listen to this type of music. Oh no, put this on your TV. Oh no, do these type of drinks. No, I should adapt to that culture. And I think the same thing with the Black Barbershop. It's kind of like the culture shouldn't be lost. And anybody walking in, so example, when that Asian person walks in, when that white person walks in, and we're talking about whatever we're talking about, and we might be talking about, you could be talking about Black issues, you can talk about whatever it is, right? It's not kind of like, oh, I don't want to hear this.
Yeah.
Or, I don't want to see that on TV. I don't like Fresh Prince. Why are you playing Fresh Prince? I don't like soul R&B music. Can't you play some, I don't know, pop or rock or something along those lines? It's like, no, when you come into that environment, respect the environment. There are things in every culture that needs to be changed. So it's not like we're talking about challenging culture because of things which are actually wrong. And it's kind of like, challenging the culture, like, you need to shift your mindset on this because that's actually wrong. But, outside of those kind of things there, accepting the culture you're going into and not trying to change it and just adapting to it instead. So yes, I would hope that would you get it, I think that should be preserved. But it's not me waving almost the black flag saying, oh, the black culture just needs to preserve. I generally think that with other cultures as well, within like different communities, like, going into a Turkish person's snooker hall and they listen to a certain type of music and they have certain, things on whatever they play on TV. I just don't think that it should be for me to be like, I don't like that. So it should change because I don't like that. It's like, no, if you want to get that feel of that culture, you go into there and you adapt to it and, you settle into that culture and take in, those cultural things.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said respect the culture or the place that you're going and their culture and what they're about. Totally makes sense. Yeah. So changing tack slightly to talk about small business and entrepreneurship. So if anyone is watching today who is kind of just starting out in the barbering industry or indeed any industry and they've got big ambitions, have you got any kind of top tips for them on how to grow, who to talk to, as well as obviously reading your book?
Small businesses, yeah, this is a topic I do love. I do love like I guess the empowerment, equipping small businesses because a lot of small businesses fail, and it's not because they don't always have the tools or it's almost it's not that they can't survive. A lot of times I've seen it that they haven't got the access to knowledge or they don't realize the things they need to do to survive. As to why I wrote my book, Shaping Up Culture. So yeah, for small businesses, I would say this is very basic, right? But it goes over people's heads, is you need to recognize and see yourself as a business when you're starting up a business. And it's obvious, obviously you're a business, so that makes sense. But I see a lot of small businesses who do not recognize themselves as businesses. They do not see themselves as businesses. I see them complaining about other businesses, but they see businesses kind of like the big businesses. Oh, Apple's a business. Oh, Sony, they're a business. Oh, John Lewis, they're a business. They look at kind of like, and they separate themselves from them. So even when I've done my masterclass and I've talked about done on business, I've always said from the beginning, like, you need to see yourself as a business. And I would make people say things like, say it, and even in the mirror, say, I am a business. You need to sink that inside yourself to start moving and operating like a business. Because a lot of times people aren't operating like businesses because they don't really see themselves as an actual business. But once they start seeing themselves like that, then they start doing things that businesses do. And the things that they expect from other businesses, they actually start saying to themselves, oh, actually, I should be doing that as well. I'll give you an example, little things like code of conduct. Most small businesses, a lot of small businesses don't have a code of conduct, but it's because they've never registered that any big business has a code of conduct. They have ethics and the ethos of their business. But as a small business, you might not see yourself like that because you don't really think of yourself as a business. So you don't really think, that you should have that, or you don't even, it's not like if they thought about it and they think they shouldn't have it. It's more so they just haven't crossed their mind. So start seeing yourself as a business, right? And I'd say the things you expect from any business and the way they treat you, the way you get served, the things you want from that business, your business should also be doing those exact same things. And it doesn't matter whether you're bringing in £1 a year to this person bringing in billions a year, you're both still a business. So you need to operate in the same manner. And that's what's actually helped me from early years back. I always saw myself as a business, and I didn't know that it wasn't something like I forced myself to think. I just saw myself as a business. So I was doing things ahead of the time in the industry I was in, but it's because I saw myself as a business. I didn't think I was leaping forward. I was just like, oh, I remember I'm 36 now, I was 23, 24, so we're talking about 12, 13 years ago. I had a website for myself. Now, this was a time in the barber industry, people didn't have websites. Like, barbershops didn't have websites. It was the big chains that had websites. It was, the really big stores, but the average barbershop never had a website. But I remember being like, I remember saying to myself, oh, I should have a website. I was like, just because, businesses have websites, so I should have a website. And that was it. So I started a website. There was only one page. It just had my name, my number, my address, and that was it. Just one page. But what was funny is I started getting a lot of customers from that, because when people went online looking and they were typing in Afro hair barbers or Black Barbers London, I'm the only person that showed up because no one else had a website. And that wasn't me trying to think forward, being like, I've seen a gap in the market. I wasn't thinking about anybody else. I was just thinking I'm a business. So those are one of my big tips. I'll just say, when you think like a business, see yourself as a business, you operate like a business. So that's a massive thing, and just like, as I said, what you want from businesses, do in your business. Study your craft. I say forever remain a student of your craft. I have this statement where I say, in order to master your craft, you have to be a student of. In order to master your craft, you must forever remain a student of your craft, meaning that you should always be learning and should never be in a place where you believe you can't take on information, or there's nothing for you to learn, or you're done, you've mastered it, it's done, it's over. So always learn from people. And this is another, I'll leave it with this last point as well, which is another key thing. Invest into yourself and your business. Invest into information, invest into knowledge. Many people don't like the idea of paying for information, but I see information and knowledge as a seed. Someone sells you a seed, which costs, £50 as example. When you water that seed, it's going to grow to more than £50. So I've been trying to get people and get their heads around when I'm speaking to people. I'm not only talking about, investing into my course or the things I'm doing. I'm talking about generally whatever field you're in. Like, if there's someone out there that's got information that can help your business grow and they're charging £10, 50, 100, 500, if you can afford or stretch to go to pay for it, then pay for it, because they're giving you valuable information that will help you grow your business. So those are my 3 tips. Long tips.
No, perfect. Thank you. Mark, it's been an absolute pleasure, and that's probably a really great place to leave it, with such a lot of inspiration. But thank you so much for giving us an insight into Black barbershops, talking a little bit about entrepreneurship, and you've given me a really good idea to explore more on classism in barbershops. I'm now like percolating that kind of idea, so thank you for that.
No way. I'm not saying it's class, it is classy, but it's not.
Yeah. But it's going to be good to explore. I think there's a lot of like interesting stories to come out of that, and definitely. Thank you so much for your time, really appreciate it, and thank you to everyone listening, and we'll be putting up this video on IGTV and also YouTube in the coming days. Thanks again, Mark. It's been great to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Bye.